Imagine walking into your office before most people even arrive. You know the vibe. The keyboards are totally quiet, the endless calendar alerts haven't started pinging yet, and everything just seems perfectly, peacefully normal. But there's a massive crisis brewing right under the surface. Today, we are breaking down an absolutely fascinating workplace saga. We're looking at a situation where two totally different departments swear up and down that they are using the final, officially approved numbers. And the real kicker? Shockingly, both of them are completely right. That wild paradox is the exact problem we're unpacking today. We are going to dive deep into the anatomy of a corporate cover-up, exploring exactly what happens when the truth is hidden in plain sight, and how the ultimate battle for workplace integrity is so often fought in the absolute quietest corners of our daily operations.
So this right here is the exact fracture point where the company's reality just completely splits in two. I mean, we aren't dealing with a simple typo here. We're not talking about a quick miscommunication in a Slack channel. We are dealing with two entirely parallel truths. On one hand, we have version A. This is the raw, unvarnished data. It's the actual revenue numbers that reflect cold, hard reality. But then, on the other hand, we have version B. And version B is polished, it's approved, and it is carefully, deliberately manipulated for one specific purpose, to perfectly align with a senior executive named Victor Hale and his previous financial forecasts. Literally, one version tells the truth, and the other version saves a career. And as you'll see in this explainer, the most ordinary, mundane objects, like a simple little spreadsheet cell, are about to become the ultimate witnesses to this whole mess.
To really understand how a single file could practically tear an entire company apart, we have to look at how the office immediately divided into two super distinct camps. It's like a giant psychological puzzle. In the first camp, we have the employees fighting for raw data accuracy. This includes folks like Bennett, who is an ethical strategist, alongside our quiet data analysts, the IT guys, and the HR partners. Then, over in the other camp, we have the people desperately seeking safety. This is manager Rebecca Sloan, who is fiercely protective of her own image, and senior executive Victor Hale, who is basically just protecting the system that protects him. You see, this isn't just a disagreement over math. It's not about adding a column wrong. It is a fundamental head-on collision between people who want accuracy and people who just desperately want safety.
Let's move into part 1, the deflection playbook, or blaming the whistleblower.
Okay, so when a massive discrepancy like this is first noticed, you'd probably expect management to immediately audit the numbers, right? Like, oh no, the math is wrong, let's fix it. But no, that is absolutely not what happens. Before the data can even be questioned, manager Rebecca Sloan steps in with a perfectly rehearsed deflection. She completely ignores the spreadsheet. Instead, she looks around the room and casually drops this line. We all know who still has access to sensitive recovery files. She doesn't explicitly name Bennett, but she implies it incredibly heavily. And why do that? Because honestly, corporate offices usually prefer a familiar suspect over a genuinely uncomfortable question. Instead of actually addressing the glaring data discrepancy, Rebecca immediately shifts the whole narrative to target Maya. She chooses a really convenient scapegoat just to muddy the waters and distract everyone.
And you really have to notice how expertly Rebecca weaponizes corporate HR speak here. It's actually kind of wild. She schedules a culture alignment huddle to discuss the situation. Think about that phrase for a second. During this meeting, she looks right at Maya and delivers this exact line about trust and tone. She completely shifts the entire trial away from the hard, undeniable evidence and focuses entirely on Maya's attitude for daring to bring the issue up. Maya realizes something incredibly profound here. When the truth actually threatens people in power, your tone suddenly becomes the thing on trial. The people in that room are no longer being asked to evaluate the evidence. They are being asked to evaluate who sounds easier to punish.
This contrast perfectly highlights the core philosophical battle happening in that room. Rebecca is insisting that bringing up facts carelessly actually damages trust, which, let's be real, is a classic textbook tactic to suppress whistleblowers. It's designed to make them feel like they're the ones ruining team morale. But Daniel Reed, the ethical team lead, absolutely refuses to play along. He finally draws a line in the sand. He pushes back, stating totally unequivocally that facts are the absolute foundation of repairing trust. It is a straight-up battle of narrative control versus objective reality. Daniel makes it crystal clear they are not going to sit through another ridiculous meeting where the person with the actual proof has to defend their attitude, while the person with the system access defends absolutely nothing.
Which brings us to phase 2, uncovering the hidden tab and the power of quiet data.
So while the managers are loudly arguing about tone and team perception over in the conference room, the quiet analysts are actually just digging straight into the receipts. And what they find changes absolutely everything.
Ethan, a quiet data analyst, uncovers the literal smoking gun. It turns out that version B, the manipulated file, was not some careless edit. It wasn't a typo. It was generated from a deliberately hidden layer buried deep, deep down in the spreadsheet cells. This hidden tab was literally named the board view, and it was created just minutes after an old sensitive file incident was reopened. It looks like nothing, just a single dull gray row of evidence in a massive export log, but the implications are totally terrifying. It completely proves that the alternate numbers were a calculated, intentional bypass of normal scrutiny.
When Maya sees this, a light bulb goes off. She realizes that the incredibly polished, beautiful formatting of the spreadsheet is actually just masking a deliberate, systemic method of manipulation. As she so brilliantly points out, a mistake, even a really clean, well-formatted mistake, is still just an error. But what they are looking at right here, this is a clean, intentional pattern. It was literally a test by upper management to see if the company's culture had actually changed or if they could still get away with burying the truth just to protect executive forecasts. The discrepancy wasn't a glitch in the system. It was a built-in feature.
And man, the plot thickens even more when Noah, the IT and compliance specialist, decides to pull the archival server logs. Because what he finds proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that this isn't some isolated incident. Noah's logs reveal an identical replica of past cover-ups. When you look at this timeline, it's just mind-blowing. First, you have the exact same timing sequence as previous data anomalies. Then, at the 1-hour mark, it's the exact same senior approval chain miraculously signing off on the manipulated numbers. And then, most damning of all, by day 1, you see the exact same PR-friendly cleanup language being used in the aftermath emails. Everyone is suddenly using words like contain, stabilize, and reset. The data absolutely proves that this is a fully established, repeatable method for hiding the truth.
All right, that takes us to phase 3, tone versus truth, the glass-walled confrontation.
So these two incredibly opposing forces finally collide in a glass-walled conference room. The rest of the office can literally see the shapes of the argument happening, even if they can't hear every single word. Inside that room, Victor is frantically arguing about process. Rebecca is arguing about team perception. Maya is just hammering the hard evidence. And then Olivia Park, the HR partner, steps in and completely shifts the entire temperature of the room with this one singular realization. She says, process without integrity is just choreography. Wow. I mean, that is just a stunning indictment of the company's culture. She hits the nail on the head. Standard operating procedures, long approval chains, and strict formatting rules are completely meaningless. They are literally just a coordinated dance if the foundational data they are built on is entirely fake.
Faced with this absolutely undeniable reality, Rebecca tries to pivot again. She attempts to offer this really soft, PR-friendly apology to Maya, clearly just trying to smooth over the personal friction and make it all go away. But Maya is not having it. She outright refuses to accept this fake, performance-level apology. She cuts right past the corporate speak and straight to the heart of the betrayal. She basically says she doesn't care at all about personal grievances or who likes who. What she demands is an actual end to the systemic punishment of whistleblowers. She demands an end to a system that penalizes the people who are brave enough to simply look at the math and say, hey, this doesn't add up.
This intense standoff brings us to part 4. Leadership changes the rules, the resolution.
Just as the tension in that glass room hits its absolute peak, CEO Claire Morgan walks in. She doesn't even sit down. She simply looks at the data laid out in front of them, and she fundamentally changes the rules of the game. Claire perfectly diagnoses the toxic culture that has taken root in her organization. She looks right at her senior management and points out the hardest, most uncomfortable truth of all. The real threat to the company's survival wasn't that one single hidden tab, and it wasn't even one bad executive like Victor. The real existential threat was the underlying culture of silence and self-preservation. It was the terrifying fact that good, capable, incredibly smart employees had been trained by the system to stay quiet, to value their own safety over data accuracy, and to literally wait for official permission before speaking the truth.
But here is why Claire is an actual leader. She doesn't just give a motivational speech and leave. True leadership requires operational reality, not just empty slogans, right? Right there in the room, she executes 4 decisive, immediate changes to dismantle that corrupt system. Boom, she orders an independent review of the data. Boom, she completely freezes the financial decisions tied to Victor's manipulated forecast. She explicitly, vocally protects Maya, Ethan, Noah, and Daniel, the very employees who stuck their necks out to provide the evidence. And finally, she strips system access from all the accounts tied to that historical manipulation pattern. In about 2 minutes, she effectively cuts off the entire power source of the cover-up.
Which finally leads us to part 5, the aftermath, where integrity truly starts.
As the crazy workday finally ends, the office starts to empty out, and the dust settles, we're really left with this profound realization about workplace ethics, invisible power games, and the true cost of staying honest when everyone else is just playing it safe. Through Maya and her team's entire ordeal, we learned a crucial lesson that goes way, way beyond a single spreadsheet. We learned that true accountability isn't found in a glossy presentation. It's not in a well-rehearsed huddle, and it's for sure not in beautiful formatting. All of those things are just surface-level choreography. True, unbreakable integrity actually starts deep down in the raw data. It lives in the hidden tabs, in the server logs, and in the very cells that no one ever expects you to open and verify.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this final, vital thought to carry into your own professional life. Think about your own day-to-day. When the pressure gets really high, when the quarterly forecasts are on the line, and when the culture around you subtly pushes you towards silence, where does your truth actually live? Do you wait around for permission to be honest? Or are you willing to look into the cells no one else wants to open? It's a tough question, but it's one we all have to answer. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive today, and keep seeking the truth in your own data. See you next time.